as time went on, I guess it was just frustrating me. Not necessarily answering to someone, that wasn't the biggest gripe for me, but I felt like I always built really good relationships with the CEOs and the senior players, but then I always clashed with the managers and the in-between guys.
Will from Vitae London, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, man.
Bit of a YSYS special here today. It's cool having the community in.
For sure.
We're going to get on to Vitae London, right? But I think it's interesting for the audience to look at where you came from and how you got here in the journey, right? So you started your first business quite young.
Yeah.
At 19,
Yep,
you started your first business. What was it?
Yeah, so my very first business was a company called Starlight Sports Academy. And I recognized that a lot of people that I was in university with, had grown up with, during college days, they got FA Level 1 and FA Level 2 qualifications, but they weren't doing anything with it. So I recruited a lot of those people, and then I went on to Gumtree, recruited even more. And then we went to primary schools and sold their services into the schools.
Okay, cool.
And then we made money in terms of commission for every single coach we sent in. So yeah, we ran that for a couple of years, and it did really well. We won some cool awards, but then it got to a point where we saw basically a gap in the market where the government was funding schools for these programs to tackle obesity, and then the government changed hands. So our whole business model was built around this funding model, and it just didn't make sense anymore when the government stopped funding it. So at that point, I had to close down the business. I was like 22. I had this office space that we'd hired out. We thought we were something we weren't. But
what was it like when you was it something you seen coming, or was it one morning you looked and went, oh, they're after pulling it? How did that go down?
Yeah, it was a slow transition. I think it was announced that they were pulling it, and then another September came around, we're looking to renew contracts with schools, and just a lot of them were saying it doesn't make sense for them to do it anymore, and they don't have the funding for it. So at that point, I was just left. There's 3 of us left here in this office. We didn't really know what to do. But then I ended up going into the city, and I worked firstly as an insurance broker for a year, then I worked as a recruitment consultant for a few years before I started Vitae.
That's pretty cool. So what was it like? Because we had a conversation with somebody yesterday, right, about they went from, their business got acquired, right? So he went from being a founder to being like a cog in a bigger wheel. It was interesting hearing his thoughts on having someone to answer to, right? What was it like for you? Was that a weird thing to have to go into the city and answer to somebody, or was it like, are you cool with that?
It was quite tricky. At first I was cool with it, because I mean, like, I was still really young, and then all my managers were a lot older. So I was cool with it at first, but then as time went on, I guess it was just frustrating me. Not necessarily answering to someone, that wasn't the biggest gripe for me, but I felt like I always built really good relationships with the CEOs and the senior players, but then I always clashed with the managers and the in-between guys.
Okay.
And yeah, that wasn't so enjoyable for me. So over time, and as I lost passion for that industry as well, it just, it didn't make sense for me to be there.
So with Vitae, right, was that something that was in your head when you were working in the city to do? And then was there any crossover? Because we always chat to people about when they're in the city and have a business idea, do they leave and start it, or is there crossover? As in, do they keep taking a salary and do it on the side? What way did you take the idea?
I think the smartest thing is to actually build it up on the side while working full time.
Bit of security in that.
I advise everyone to do that, but that's not what I did. Like,
all right,
I would tell everyone to do that, but I went down a bit of a different path. So I first had the idea in January 2015, and then got the samples and everything and built that over a year's time while I was still working in the city. And then as soon as I got the first batch of watches, which was December 15/January 16, is when I just handed in my notice. And I convinced my wife to allow us to use savings that we had towards a house.
Right, that's a big risk.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't a ridiculous amount of money. It was like 7-8 grand that we had saved up.
Still a decent chunk though.
But it's money I saved up while working a sales job. And then, I managed to convince her to allow me to quit this really well-paid job, invest this money that we'd saved up into an industry that, to be honest, I didn't really know anything about. She's probably a little bit crazy like me, and she said
Yeah, well, that's good then, because having a spouse support what you do is, because if they don't, then it just makes things infinitely difficult, doesn't it?
It's so tricky.
Yeah.
It helps a
So
lot.
you got the first batch of watches, super excited, convinced the wife, left the job, And then how did you have a background in design, or did you help someone? Because watches are really cool. There's probably cutaways in the screen now, right? The watches look great. Did you get a designer in, or how much input did you have with that?
So I fully designed the product.
Oh,
so
right, okay.
The backstory is I was, for some reason, I've never been able to draw, but I chose to do GCSE art. And through that, I was like, I need to find a way to pass this qualification. So I taught myself how to do graphic design. And then through that, as years went on, I was able to like manipulate images and produce the watch that I wanted and sent it off to the manufacturers, who then sent samples. Our very first sample was absolutely dreadful.
Was it?
Yeah.
What was wrong with it?
It was so massive. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But through time and through iterations, I was able to get exactly how I wanted. So yeah, that was the journey with that.
And we talked a bit off camera about you bootstrapped this in the beginning, right? And you said off camera, like you weren't sure of this world, right? You kind of got into it and you bootstrapped it, which especially with product, right? You can bootstrap, like if you're a designer, you can bootstrap your designing startup because you're a designer. Something with product is like way harder to do, isn't it? Like the bootstrap in the beginning. So what was that journey like of having to kind of go, right, we don't have an infinite amount of VC money. What was it like, or was it?
It was interesting because the very first day we launched in January 16, we had 13 sales come through, which isn't a ridiculous amount, but to me it was an indication because we put no money into marketing. Like with the samples I had a couple months before launching, I was just doing a bit of hype on social media to try and drum up awareness. And the first day we sold 13 watches. And I think in my head I was like, if 13 people who have never heard of this brand before were bought into the point that they would part ways with their money to buy one of our products, imagine what we can do with time if we get to the right influencers, if we build up the right capital. So for me, that was a really strong indication that we had something good on our hands.
I think 13 a day is impressive for no big amount of money behind marketing and all sorts of stuff. That is impressive. What was it like when you seen the first email order come in?
It was so weird because I was actually in South Africa when we got it. So I was visiting one of the charities that we support. So I was with them and I was just letting them know it's about to be launch day. And then that morning I just see the emails coming through and it was so weird. I feel like I actually need to go back and find those 13 people and thank them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, it was a real surreal day.
And since then, right, you've proved that people love the product for like a great cause. Just going on to the cause actually, because we haven't really got onto that. So when someone buys the watch, the money goes to charity, but you're linked directly with the charity, right? So there's no like middle person has to go to. You're like giving it direct to the charity. So if someone buys a watch, where does that money go? What does it do?
So Vitae is actually Latin for life. So the whole mantra behind the brand is to be the fashion brand changing lives. We're partnered with two charities, Pen to Paper Ghana and House of Wells, who are predominantly in South Africa.
Cool.
So with House of Wells, whenever we sell a watch, they provide a full set of school uniform for a child to see them through school for a year. And then through our partnership with Pen to Paper, whenever we sell a watch, we provide a solar light. Because we found a lot of the children we support, again, education may be free or on their doorstep, but if they don't have a good source of electricity at home, they have to travel for hours just to be able to study at night.
Yeah.
Whereas through selling our watches, we can easily provide a solar light to one of these children. And it not only impacts them, it often impacts their siblings and other people around. So yeah, that's been an amazing project.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not something, and when you say it, it makes so much sense, but it's not something you would immediately think of that a light can impact. Not, as you say, not just one sibling, but the whole family can use it.
And that's why I think it's really important for businesses, especially in the Western world, to actually hear from the people on the ground. Because it was the charities that we partnered with that told us about the need. And through that, we were able to come up with a solution. I found the person that actually created and invented these solar lights.
Oh, right. So you're straight to the source there as well.
So straight to the source there.
That's cool.
Able to now purchase the lights of him and give it directly to our charity partners. But yeah, it's just about actually listening to the people on the ground to find out what the genuine need is.
Amazing. And since you bootstrapped it and do all that sort of stuff, and since you've taken VC money, since what difference has that made to the business having that funding?
So yeah, that's only been a couple months now, but it's weird. Like it's a good weird.
Yeah. Weird that you have to answer to somebody. Weird that there's more money.
Weird that there's more money.
Right.
Like, so a lot of people who were supporting the business, I was only able to pay them a very small amount, or they'd be volunteering for the past few years. But now to be able to actually honor these like amazing individuals and give them a decent salary, to be able to start putting money behind marketing, to be able to see these ideas I've had in my head for years, like actually being able to come to fruition because I have some money to make them happen, it's been an amazing experience. So yeah, it's actually made a big difference. We haven't taken on a lot of capital, but the capital we've taken on has made a big impact.
And by the time this video goes out, you're going to be on live on Cedars well, which is really cool. We'll link it below.
Awesome.
What does it mean to be able to kind of get the community involved, and like they have a slice of the pie then once they invest, which is pretty cool.
And that's why we're going on Cedars. So our first investment was from Backstage Capital, and through that there is a strong chance we can go out and get angel investment. But for me, Cedars provides a really good opportunity because a lot of our customers, a lot of people in our community that would never really get presented the opportunity to invest in businesses actually have that opportunity now. And as we grow and succeed, they also get to profit from it.
Amazing.
And also for me, I believe it enables our customers to be bigger advocates for the brand because they own a part of the brand. So yeah, that's why we've decided to go down that route.
Look, I wish you the best luck, and no doubt you'll nail that Cedars campaign. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.